Connor Bedard, the superstar of the Chicago Blackhawks, scored his second hat trick of the season last night. In fact, both he and Macklin Celebrini scored hat tricks last night. It's the first time two players 20 or younger both scored 3 goals on the same night since February 19th, 1944. And that is insane in itself that the league is so good and so young right now. But why I'm actually bringing this up today is because Connor Bedard had a down sophomore season. His points per game dropped about 10% from his Calder-winning rookie season, and there was a ton of consternation about maybe we all got it wrong. What if he's just good and not great? Will Chicago's centerpiece kind of be just an okay player that can't put us over the top, but not a star? Well, Bedard now has 13 goals in his third year. That's tied for second in the NHL. His 29 points thus far are the fourth most. I think that means maybe we can all take a deep breath on Matvei Michkov. Bedard and Michkov were in the same draft class, and if not for a KHL contract, would possibly have the same amount of service time. Being a pro athlete, so I'm told, is about adapting. A rookie phenom comes in, opponents adjust, and then it's about adjusting to those adjustments and overcoming new adversity. For many of these guys, it's the first time they've ever even been challenged in their life because they're so good. Now, some players are Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, hell, maybe even Macklin Celebrini fits in this group. They're just better than everybody, and that's how it goes for their whole careers. But 99% of players, even elite ones, go through this. Take a look at Michkov's numbers versus Nate McKinnon's versus however many games Michkov is into his career, like 98 or so. Seeing Bedard get off to an elite start this year after his sophomore slump should be at least a ray of hope for all Flyers fans. We're not all wrong about Michkov. It just might take a little longer than immediately for his dominance to prove out. Hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to Philadelphia, live here in the Xfinity Lounge. We are presented by our friends at Bet Parks, and it's been a crazy couple of days without a ton of sports here. We had the Eagles back on Sunday. The Flyers haven't played since Saturday. The Sixers have only played one game. It's a little bit of a lull, so we have a fun variety show for you. But before we get any further into it, of course, joining me in the Xfinity Lounge today is my producer, Tyler Zulli.
Adjustment to the adjustment to the adjustment to the adjustment, right?
It's a constant adaptation.
Well, I think about, you could do it across a lot of different sports, too. I think the NFL probably is bigger than most, especially at the quarterback position. I think you watched C.J. Stroud as his rookie year really shine. The Texans have struggled over the last couple of years. He's been injured, but the Texans have struggled. Jaden Daniels has gone through some injury problems himself this year, but Washington had struggled, even in the first couple of games with him playing. There are adjustments that get made. I'm not worried about Michkov yet. I think if we get to this point, we talked about it with Andrew Painter on the Philly show. If we get to the point we were at in this August, then we start having conversations. If you get to this point with Michkov in March, we could change the narrative a little bit, but it is still young enough in the season. I think time is still on his side.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just see, development's never linear. He came in out of shape. He had a bad summer. He has admitted it. And the fact that he kind of owned up to it is all right, man, well, we can't erase that. We just have to kind of keep going from here, and hopefully you learn what to do and what not to do in future summers. But he's at a half a point a game right now, which doesn't sound great. It's also that. Look at Nathan McKinnon's numbers. This is how it goes for a lot of really good young players. Look at Nikita Kucherov's numbers for the start of his career. These things happen. Not everybody is McDavid. And even if they're not, doesn't mean they can't be elite. All right, we got some headlines to get to today. Tyler, you pointed this one out to me yesterday. Cole Hamels is on amongst a number of names. First time they will appear on the Hall of Fame ballot. Ryan Braun, Matt Kemp, Hunter Pence, about 8 or 9 other guys all appearing for the first time. I don't think this is like shocking news. We all know how long it's been since he last pitched and the amount of service time. Okay, boom, that's what gets you on the ballot. Why I want to talk about this today is that Cole Hamels is not a Hall of Famer. I just don't think he reached that level of greatness for that long. He never won a Cy Young, nothing of that nature. And because of that, nobody, in all likelihood, from the golden era of Phillies baseball, at least one of 2 of them, will ever have their numbers retired in this organization, except for one guy, Roy Halladay, who had 2 good years here because he made it to the Hall of Fame. And I hate how the Phillies organization punts to a bunch of writers and people who did not watch the team day in and day out to decide who the most important players are in this franchise's history. The Phillies do not retire players' numbers unless they reach the Hall of Fame. I know there's an analytics case for Chase Utley. I also think there's just going to be like a games played thing where it's like, yeah, man, he was the best, but for 5 years, and that's it. Ryan Howard, the precipitous drop-off, the short amount of time he was on top, the late age he came up, and then how quickly it ended, probably not going to happen. J-Roll has the best case, but it doesn't seem like that's happening anytime soon. Yeah, nobody from that team's ever going to get their number retired. And it's because a bunch of other people who have nothing to do with the team say so.
There is a weird dynamic to that thought process. I think if you were to rank them as to who is the most likely to get in, I think it's Chase Utley.
You can legitimately say he was the best at his position for a given amount of time.
I do think it's Chase Utley. I think the most feared hitter of the group in a span was Ryan Howard. I think the terms of like statistical award-winning stuff is Jimmy Rollins.
Yeah.
I would say if you said pick one that's going to get in, I do think eventually it may be Chase Utley. I don't know if any of these guys are Hall of Famers, to be quite frank. I know our buddy Pat Egan vehemently argues for Jimmy Rollins. I don't know if any of them will be Hall of Famers, but I do think that is a stupid reasoning to not retire numbers, assuming that none of these guys end up getting in, or even if one of them gets in. It is a weird reasoning to keep off your career hits leader out of the retirement, retirement.
Say Jimmy or Chase get in year 15 of eligibility or whatever. So it took 15 years for you to be like, well, now that all these writers from Oakland and St. Louis and Kansas City and Texas say that our players were good enough, now we must honor them with the number retirement. I just think it's absolutely cowardly. Like, who is important. Cole Hamels is not a Hall of Famer. But in 143 seasons of existence, the Phillies have 2 World Series MVPs. Mike Schmidt, probably the greatest third baseman ever, in the Hall of Fame, so his number gets retired. And then Cole Hamels. Cole Hamels is the only one in franchise history to win both the NLCS and the World Series MVP in the same year. He was with this team for a long, long time. He was a homegrown star who had his ups and downs and is a Philadelphia Philly and won them one of their only 2 championships in almost 150 effing years. But he's probably just not going to get in this other place. It's in New York. We don't really know where it is. People go there because it's there, but otherwise no one would know this town even exists. Because he's not honored in there, we can't do it in Philadelphia, where he is legitimately a hero. Like, this is cowardly thinking on the part of that organization, and it bothers me to no end. I do have a solution. Because none of these guys are likely to get in, Tyler, what would you think of the idea of retiring the number 08 and putting the Core 5's name under it?
I mean, it's thinking outside the box. I don't know how much it flies in the face of like the traditional baseball fan, and I don't know how much they care about that.
They're all dead anyway. I know you're alive.
I exist. I'm here. You're looking at me. I'm not a corporealis.
I just assumed you were
ghost.
AI this whole time.
I might be. I mean, Anthony calls me bot for a reason. I get what you're trying to do. I don't know how I feel about it.
There just needs to be, like, obviously they're all going to get on that wall of fame one day, but that thing, like, Mike freaking Lieberthal's on it. We honored Chase Utley and Mike Lieberthal in the same way. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, that, the same level of honor you bestowed upon, like, guys we ran out of town and, like, all-time legitimate fan favorites like Rollins and Utley and Howard. Yeah, they're going to get the same thing. It's basically the same honor. Asinine. Absolutely asinine. And the fact that, there's this other outlet. Like, there's lots of numbers in baseball. It's not like football where it's, we have to keep some. Like, there's only so many guys can wear certain numbers, We can't retire everybody. In baseball, there's 99 numbers to choose from. You can have any of them. Taking 2 or 3 guys who weren't like necessarily MLB Hall of Famers, but meant everything to your franchise, I don't get that line of thinking.
Well, I think unless you're the Yankees, who now I believe do not have a single digit number available, but you're also the most historic franchise in the history of the game, there's some wiggle room. You only have a 26-man roster, and I know there's the conversation of this guy's wearing 64 on the mound. That just looks dumb. But, like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think if you think about 11 and 6 and 26, there's no question who you think about when it comes to the Phillies organization.
And, like, those numbers have been out of rotation for the most part, haven't they? So, like, they're technically retired, but they're just not going to paint the numbers up. And then, only the Hall of Famers get that. Oh, all right, cool. All right, one last headline, then we got to take our first break. Jordan Davis named the NFC Defensive Player of the Week. He did have a great game, as did the D-line. I mean, that defense, you give up 9 points in prime time, they're going to want to honor somebody. But the thing that stands out to me about this, he had the 3 batted passes. 1 total tackle, though. And this has to be like the least amount of traditional counting stats for like a D player of the week ever, right? Like, I don't know. Like, does a corner who gets... Like, he didn't have any interceptions or anything, but they threw to him 3 times, and the guy didn't catch it.
Yeah,
so
I think he
dominated today.
You start thinking about, like, passer ratings against the guy and yardage allowed.
Yeah, like, I feel like that's not how we do these Player of the Week awards. I just found it funny. And I do, like, the idea that, Eli Manning wins Super Bowl MVP because, like, we can't give it to the whole line. I like that they tried to credit the Eagles' defense in some way here. It's like, I don't know, Jalen Carter had 2. Like, it's just very funny to me, a guy with 1 tackle. And I'm glad they started recording the batted passes better than they used to, because, like, it was, J.J. Watt didn't have a tackle this week, and he totally wrecked the game. We need to figure out a way to statistically analyze this.
And I think
I just thought it was funny.
When you watch that game from Sunday night, I think when you pinpointed Jordan Davis, you went, man, Jordan Davis is blowing up a lot of plays here. When it's even not with the batted balls, he's drawing a lot of double teams. He's commanding traps and things like that. I thought Jordan Davis, I said to my dad, during like 3/4 of the way through the game, I'm like, Jordan Davis has been excellent tonight. And it's, when you think about big defensive tackles like that, run stuffing defensive tackles, you don't notice them right away. He popped out from pretty much the jump with those batted passes early.
And just to wrap it up, Jordan Davis, first Eagle ever to win Special Teams Player of the Week and D Player of the Week in the same season. So pretty cool year already for Jordan Davis. Man, it's almost like he's got a contract coming up or something. All right, with that, Tyler, we got to take our first break. Whether your favorite team wins or not, there's always another way to win on the BetParx online casino app, because all they are is different ways to win from a plethora of slots like Huff and More Puff, Cash Eruption, 88 Fortune, slots based on your favorite streaming shows like Breaking Bad, The Walking Dead, Squid Game, and of course, all your casino favorites. We're talking blackjack, we're talking roulette, craps, poker, baccarat. Every different way to win imaginable at the BetParx online casino app. Turn that downtime into some fun time right now, because new users get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. All you got to do, go to betparx.com and download the app and enjoy all the action and excitement from the casino at your fingertips. Must be 21 plus and in PA, Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan for BetParx. You love to play. You play to win. You bet. BetParks. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, you've got a slate of different sports coming up this week, and whether it may be pro hoops or college hoops, pro basketball or pro hockey, I should say, you have to do it with our friends over at Xfinity, because if you call yourself a sports fan, you have to get Xfinity. It's the ultimate sports destination where you get your favorite teams and all of the best games all in one place. You don't have to worry about lagging, buffering, switching between apps, trying to find the game that you're looking for. It's right there with Xfinity. You get live stats right there on your screen, and with incredible sound enhanced with 4K and crystal clear optics, you're going to feel like you're at the stadium anyway. So don't worry about battling traffic. You can just sit on your couch and watch the game with crystal clarity. It's the best way to watch the game. So if you call yourself a sports fan, you have to get Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that.
All right, welcome back. I do want to hit on one more obligatory Eagles thing before we move on to just a variety show today, Tyler. A couple of different things I've been meaning to get to, or just kind of screw around here in a midweek fun day. So yesterday, Jeff McClain told 97.5 that the drama regarding A.J. Brown and the offense, Jalen Hurts, and it's all overblown. It's kind of mostly on the outside. Yeah, there's the tweets and the weirdness, but like in the building, it's basically business as usual. And I got to say, like, coming from a lot of other places, I'd be like, yeah, man, that's the state propaganda. You know, that it's coming from state-run media here. But like, 97.5 has no incentive to platform such a thing because they're not the rights holder. 2, it's Jeff McClain. He hasn't exactly been like the friendliest in terms of coverage towards this team. He got kicked out of the press box a couple years ago. I don't remember why, but I do remember it happened. But like, it feels like if there was something, he would dig in on it and expose it. And if he's saying in the room it's not that big a deal, I tend to believe it because like he's 100% not part of the propaganda machine. I wish we could play clips here, but I don't know if we're allowed
I'm trying to find why.
I don't know if we're allowed to show, like, I guess their stuff's copyrighted. Yeah. I don't know.
So
I think there was like B-roll under it.
His decision, kicked out of the press box, contentious conversation with a PR coordinator. There's not a whole lot of details. But anyway, your point being is that's a guy who has been combative. And I'm going to use the word combative. I don't necessarily mean combative. I mean more in terms of trying to dig for information.
Yeah.
When I use the word combative in this case, it's not necessarily a slight at Jeff. I think Jeff does a nice job of digging for information and things like that. But it does seem like if you pair those two things together, that's just an objective reporting lens. And I think in this case, for a majority of us, we looked at it and went, okay, maybe Jalen Hurts has a little bit of like Michael Jordan-esque feel to him, where it's like, if you're not on my trajectory of work ethic and want to win, it feels like a slight or a dig in some capacity. I think it is, maybe part of it is true. Maybe there is a little bit to it, but I think this is just a group that are led by a bunch of dudes who want to win and want to win and want to win.
And that's like, listen, there's different times to handle things different ways, but a healthy team debates each other, yells at each other, holds each other accountable. And it's okay when you blow up at each other because we know, like, it's not for egotistical reasons. Maybe on some level it is. Like, we all know A.J. Brown wants to put up numbers and be considered great. But like he said, I want to contribute to winning. I think we will win more if you get me the ball more. Like, and
which, by the way,
makes sense. He's
right.
really good. Yeah, like it's not outlandish. So I do think there is a little something to that where we see what we perceive to be drama. And it is like kind of just dudes being dudes, like in the competitive sports sense, dudes being dudes, and we can't fully like, yeah, but he's like got these tweets, and like, you think Jalen's on Twitter? Like, I bet you he is, but like, I don't know, man. Do you think he's looking at AJ's story, being like, is this about me? Like, I just maybe that's who he is behind closed doors. I'd be a little surprised. That would be shocking to me.
It doesn't feel like the way that this whole thing transpires. It feels like it feels like there is, as tends to happen in this city, there's a spark that gets ignited by the media, which I'm not going to say that we're not culpable of, because we do it too. It's part of the thing we do.
Got to talk about something.
But I do think it's a small. I don't want to say small. It's a minute detail of what's going on in the inner workings that is being blown out of proportion by whomever is running with that in that particular conversation. I think in this case, you've got a team that has done nothing but win over the last 3 seasons, and as happens in most professional sporting events, you've got a bunch of dudes who are kind of the alpha in the room and sometimes butt heads.
And it's funny, like the comparison, because this did blow up, but a couple weeks ago, so it was November 7th, 2004. It was that loss against the Steelers where for however long, T.O.'s just chasing McNabb up and down the sideline, yelling at him. And we haven't seen anything close to that. Again, the levels are crazy when you're dealing with receivers and star athletes. I don't know, AJ Brown's lower on the scale than anything like that. I don't want to say it's absolutely nothing, but the idea that it's overblown, hearing it from him, that is as important a report as someone being actually there is drama. All right, maybe there's some, but coming from the guy who would probably look into that and definitely report it, I don't know. It feels like we're going to be okay in that regard. They have things to work out on the field. This offense needs to be better. That is true. They won't win a Super Bowl scoring 9 or 16 points or whatever the hell, but that's fixable because it's a bunch of good players. The drama stuff, that being not as big a deal as maybe we made it out to be, that makes me feel good about our chances to repeat, Tyler. All right.
When we talked about complementary football, when one side of the ball is not playing particularly well, as the offense has not over the last couple of weeks, the defense has been exceptional. Again, we can't ask them to be 15 more weeks of 10 weeks of exceptional.
Chances are you can't hold teams to 9.
But I think in a short sample size over the last 2 weeks, and to do it to a Lions offense that has been extremely successful over the last 3 seasons, that's the encouraging thing that I think keeps you above frustrations. This is a team that does nothing but win and win and win.
All right, with that, we're going to take one more break, and then we're going to talk about some weird and funny injuries, because I've been wanting to do this all week, and I finally have the time. Let's talk about Elkins. Listen up, PHLY fam. You know who's playing championship level Black Friday deals every single day? It's Elkins Chevrolet. They're right off of Route 73 South in Marlton, and they're run by a 3-man team, Jason, Adam, and Josh. It's 3 brothers who are in the store every single day calling the plays and delivering wins for their customers. There's no fumbles and no drama, just a hometown squad with a deep bench of Chevys and Black Friday deals that'll make you cheer. They call it honking good service, and trust me, it is a slam dunk. So if you're scouting for a new Chevy or a pre-owned MVP, make your next move to Elkins Chevrolet. Real brothers, real deals, and a whole lot of honking good service. Shop now at elkinchevrolet.com. Together, let's drive.
So the other night, it was really, really chilly at the Eagles game. So I got home and I was like, man, my feet are frozen. And if it weren't for my heater working, I would have been cold all night. But if it wasn't working, you know who I would have called? Our friends over at Ace Hardware and Ace Hardware Home Services. Because if the cold air is sneaking in and that hot air is just not going the way that you should, or it should, don't worry. That's where Ace Hardware Home Services has you covered. Whether it's heating repairs, water heaters, plumbing, electrical, their trusted local pros bring the same helpful service that you know from the Ace store right to your front door. So whether it's a quick fix or something that's a bigger winter project, they've got the tools, the know-how, and the people to get it done right. That's where Ace Hardware Home Services comes into play. They bring the helpful to your home. Visit acehardwarehomeservices.com today to get started on your next project.
All right, welcome back. It's time to talk about this Jack Hughes injury, the star number 1 center for the New Jersey Devils. Apparently, the story goes, at a team function a couple of nights ago, like a team dinner, rookie dinner on the road or something, everyone was having a good time, and they're at this steakhouse, and somehow Jack Hughes leans on a glass to the point that it shatters in his hand, cuts his finger. He needs surgery and is going to be out 6 to 8. Well, he's going to be reevaluated in 6 weeks, and he's probably going to be out at least 8. And it is just, according to sources, it's a freak accident that involved getting cut by a glass at a team dinner. So this was Thursday. It was almost a week ago. And man, it's funny. It's not funny because like glass and stuff, that can always go poorly. But it's just such a weird freaking injury that I had to come up with some of these different stories of like the non-sports injuries that have just kind of derailed careers and seasons. Because Jack Hughes, listen, he's going to be on Team USA, hopefully at the Olympics. But the Devils have had such injury issues over the last few years. I can't believe it. Josh Harris' own team just can't stay healthy. Man, their number one center just can't stay on the field or court or ice. That's weird. Anyway, so Jack Hughes, the Devils have had bad injury luck, and now it's like, really? Like at a team dinner, you cut your hand, and now you're going to be out 8 weeks. So weirdest injuries. I think the king, Tyler, is Plaxico Burress. Accidentally shooting yourself at the club in sweatpants is one of the weirdest and honestly funniest things that's ever happened.
Yeah, I mean, when that story came out, I think even to this day, you still think about it and go, how? How did that happen?
Nuts.
Yeah, it was the most like freak incident story that you could ever come up with.
I remember hearing about this at the time, but couldn't really like describe it. But when this all happened, Jeff Marek, who one of the top hockey podcasters in the world, he reached out to Dave Isaac, who used to cover the Phillies or the Flyers for the Courier Post, and Dave reminded him that on the eve of the playoffs in 2004, Eric Desjardins was having a catch with his son, like in the backyard, father-son stuff, having a catch. Well, he had a metal rod or a metal plate or something in his shoulder. It broke while having the catch. Desjardins missed the entire 04 playoffs, which, if you remember, went to Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Final, and the Flyers were out of defensemen.
We don't talk about Bruno.
They were totally out of defensemen
that
in
year.
Those playoffs. Sammy Kapanen had to play some defense.
Yeah.
He got his bell rung. They had traded Chris Therien earlier that season. They were out of dudes. And to this day, Ken Hitchcock maintains Flyers win the Cup in 04, if not for this freak thing happening to the number one D-man at the time.
Yeah, I mean, that year, I think, obviously, you look back at that Lightning team and the established players that they had with Lecavier and Martin St. Louis and who was it in net? It was Javi Bullen was unbelievable that season. It was a really good Lightning team.
It was amazing. Yeah.
I think that Flyers team stacked up against their opponent about as well as I think anybody could have.
It was just so many veterans, like, they all knew the lockout was coming, so this was basically it for them as a group.
Right.
It was so many guys playing through injuries. It was the first Flyers team I can remember that I was like, they actually have the heart and might not have the skill to match with this Tampa team. And by the time that series ended, like, oh my God, that Toronto and then Tampa, it was so physical. They were just dead. Like, they had nothing in Game 7.
Yeah, it was a really good I mean, it was let me rephrase that. It was a good Flyers team that played like a really good Flyers team.
No, they were so close too, and they would have beat that Calgary team. Still upsets me. This one has always stood out to me. It's another local one. Cole Hamels broke his pitching hand in a bar fight. That has always stood out to me because it breaks a Crash Davis rule. It breaks a rule from Bull Durham. Never hit a drunk with your pitching hand, and he did that. And I remember like reading it in like the Daily News back in the day and being like, he's never going to make it. He's not going to be anything. He's not smart enough. And he went on, now I'm advocating for retiring his number 20 years later.
It feels very much like the scene in The Replacements, which I think is the second time I've mentioned it in the last 2 weeks.
Probably.
But they get in the bar fight, and the one guy like crawls under the table and hides.
It's so good. My favorite ever is Sammy Sosa. He like broke a rib sneezing.
I don't think I've heard that one.
That one was outstanding. It was, I remember I did something similar. I like was stretching in bed and sneezed and like tore cartilage between my ribs.
Jeez.
And I always made fun of Sammy Sosa until I did that. And I was like, no, it's possible.
Wait, it hurts.
It's possible.
I can't breathe. Nothing feels good.
Bill Gramatica had a season-ending injury celebrating like a 35-yard kick or something. Adam Eaton, this might be my favorite. He stabbed himself, and Adam Eaton, if I ever see him in real life, I'm going to demand his World Series ring. I believe I deserve it more than he does. He stabbed himself with a knife, opening up a DVD wrapper, which I can honestly, I can very much relate to, because I did that opening a pack of bacon like 2 weeks ago. You saw it on the show. My hand was all wrapped up with like green tape. I understand that, but the fact that it's that like cellophane on the outside of a DVD just makes me laugh.
I've never done the knife to the wrapping, but I mean, I was a pretty big gamer growing up. Still play games, so like when you get the packaging, it is difficult to rip off. The one thing I am surprised I never did, I'm surprised more kids didn't do growing up, was break teeth, because you take it and you try to like flip it underneath your teeth. I can't believe more kids didn't like break teeth trying to get the packaging off a DVD or a video game or something like that.
What's the weirdest injury you've ever had, sports or otherwise?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, I had a weird... it's not an injury per se, but we went snorkeling on vacation one time and I got an infection that blew up the side of my face, because there was like some kind of gland or something. Yeah. And we got back on a Saturday night, and I went back to school Monday morning. And I remember waking up Monday morning and being like, "Oh, Mom, I don't feel well. I can't go to work." And my mom was a nurse, has been a nurse for 30 years. She doesn't play with the BS "I'm not going to school" thing. It's like, you better be like bleeding out the ears. And she went in, and I could see her face, and she was trying not to give me the like, "Oh, crap."
When you get the scared look from the medical professional, you're like, "Oh, I didn't think it was that bad."
Yeah, it was. No. So whatever it was, like, I had this big ball on the side of my neck for like 4 or 5 days. And I just I walked around like this, because it was like trying to balance my head out, basically. I guess in terms of injuries, I've been pretty lucky in my life. You fall, you hit your head, you do some stuff. But I've never broken a major bone. I've been really, really lucky in that instance.
I broke my arm when I was a little kid, like jumping out of my crib or something. I don't remember. I don't. The story I've been told, I was jumping up and down on the bed. I maintain I had this big Ninja Turtle that was taking up too much space, and I tried to throw him over the side, and he pulled me over with him. That's my story.
Yeah, it's Donatello's fault.
I was like 4 or 5. So I guess the dumbest one is a backyard wrestling injury. You watched at this time period. You remember Rob Van Dam?
Yeah. Try to frog splash somebody.
He had the Van Daminator where he'd throw the chair at a guy and then kick it. Well, I did a thing with my buddy where I threw it at him, and then he threw it back to me and drop kicked the chair. It's my fault, because I should have started it throwing him the side with the edge toward him, so it would come back flat towards me. I did it wrong. It's the edge side, and I was concussed, and I didn't get stitches. My friend's mom just kind of butterflied it like with 100 different little Band-Aids, but that one was bad. I was very confused for a couple of days. The video of it is so funny. I'm still like trying to do the match
as
and
you're just
telling my buddy like this
face.
Is what we should do, and he's just like, "What are you talking about? I am so clearly concussed.
You need to go to the hospital."
We were getting to the finish though. Damn it, we were going to finish that match.
I think the backyard wrestling events or the basement wrestling events or wherever you did them, there was almost that thought from your parents that are like, "You did this to yourself."
Yeah.
Did you not watch any of the videos that we bought you that say, "Do not try this at home"?
Oh my God, my mom she would like get home from work. It would be like a Friday in middle school. And she'd be like, "I get home and Evan's hitting Nick with a ladder. They're just in our backyard." I'm like, I can't control what they do in a match.
Hey,
I'm just the ref.
Listen, would you rather me hit somebody with a ladder in our backyard or in the middle of nowhere? Where
she's like, in the middle of nowhere, we're not liable, Bill. Jesus Christ. All right, I think that's it. That's all the time we have for you on Philadelphia today. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, you got to hit that subscribe button. Follow us right here on YouTube. Make sure you hit the like button as well. 29 likes, decent. Let's get it to like 100 or so by the time I get home. That'd be cool. All right. Follow us. Follow me on Twitter at Philadelphia PHLY. Follow the podcast. Just search Philadelphia. My name is Bill Matz. Thank you to Tyler Zulli. Till tomorrow, be excellent to each other.
We all silly like the mayor.